I'm 74 years old, and I'm about to tell you something that a 7-year-old taught me that I should have understood decades ago. I am not sharing this because I am proud of it. I'm sharing it because if you are over 60 or even 40, you may still have time to avoid the mistake I made for most of my life. The person who changed me forever wasn't a doctor, wasn't a priest, wasn't a business mentor. It was my granddaughter. And the question she asked me was so simple that at first I almost laughed, until I realized I didn't have an answer. Let me take you back to that afternoon. It was a quiet Sunday. My daughter had brought the kids over. The house was full, noise in the kitchen, cartoons playing softly in the background, the smell of coffee and something sweet baking in the oven. I was sitting in my usual chair, the same chair I've sat in for years. My granddaughter climbed onto the couch next to me. She had a drawing in her hands. Bright colors, a house, a tree, a stick figure family holding hands. She pointed at the tallest stick figure and said, "That's you, Grandpa." I smiled. Then she looked at me very seriously and asked, "Grandpa, are you happy?" I remember chuckling at first. "Of course I am," I said automatically. But she didn't smile back. She tilted her head the way children do when they sense something adults don't want to admit. "You don't look happy," she said quietly. And something inside me shifted. Not because she was accusing me, but because she was right. I had spent years believing happiness was something you earn after responsibility, after work, after bills, after raising children, after building a reputation. I thought happiness was the reward at the end of the road. But I was already 74, and I couldn't remember the last time I felt light, truly light. You see, I grew up believing that a good man is serious, reliable, responsible. My father rarely laughed. He worked hard, provided, kept his worries to himself. I became that man. I built a career. I paid the mortgage. I never missed a payment. I showed up when people needed help. From the outside, I did everything right. But somewhere along the way, I stopped asking myself one simple question. Am I actually enjoying this life? I confused duty with meaning. I confused stability with fulfillment. And I confused silence with strength. When my granddaughter asked me if I was happy, she wasn't judging my bank account. She wasn't measuring my achievements. She was looking at my face. Children notice faces. They notice energy. They notice when your smile doesn't reach your eyes. That night, after everyone left, I sat alone in the living room. The house was quiet again, and her question kept echoing in my mind. "Grandpa, are you happy?" I realized something uncomfortable. I had spent decades planning for tomorrow, saving for retirement, preparing for emergencies, making sure everyone else was secure. But I never planned for joy. I thought joy would simply appear once the responsibilities were over. Let me tell you something that took me 74 years to understand. If you don't practice joy when you are busy, you won't magically discover it when you are free. Retirement doesn't create happiness. It reveals whether you learned how to feel it. And I hadn't. The truth is, I had been living in emotional autopilot. Wake up, handle tasks, solve problems, go to sleep, repeat. I told myself I was being strong, but strength without warmth becomes distance, and distance is something children feel immediately. The next time my granddaughter came over, she brought another drawing. This time she drew me again, but the face was different. A straight line for a mouth, no color around it. And she said something I will never forget. "Grandpa, I like it when you laugh. You look younger." Younger. At 74, I had never connected youth with laughter. I connected youth with energy, with physical ability, with speed. But she connected youth with expression. That's when I understood the deeper part of her question. She wasn't asking whether I had a good life. She was asking whether I was present in it. And here is the part that hurts to admit. For years, even when I was physically in the room, my mind was somewhere else, thinking about what still needed fixing, what might go wrong, what I should have done differently. I was carrying yesterday and worrying about tomorrow, while sitting right next to the people who loved me. Children don't do that. They live inside the moment like it's the only place that exists, and they assume adults do the same, until they notice we don't. If you are listening to me right now, I want you to pause for a second. When was the last time someone saw pure joy on your face? Not politeness, not a controlled smile. Real, unguarded joy. For many of us, especially men of my generation, we were never taught to prioritize that. We were taught to endure, to provide, to push through. No one taught us how to feel openly without guilt. No one taught us that seriousness can slowly become a habit, and habits shape faces, faces shape impressions, and impressions shape the way even your grandchildren experience you. That small question from a child forced me to look in the mirror in a way I never had before. Not at wrinkles, not at gray hair, but at expression. I saw a man who had carried responsibility well, but who had forgotten to carry lightness. That realization was not dramatic. There was no music playing, no grand speech, just a quiet awareness that I had been postponing something essential. Happiness. After that Sunday, I didn't wake up transformed. There was no sudden burst of optimism, no dramatic decision to live differently. Change at 74 does not arrive like a thunderstorm. It arrives like a whisper. The first thing I did was something very small. The next time my granddaughter came over, I left my phone in the bedroom, not on the table, not in my pocket, in another room. For years, I told myself I wasn't addicted to it. I'm just checking something. I'm just reading the news. I'm just responding quickly. But children notice just. They notice when your eyes drop for 5 seconds too long. They notice when your attention is divided. That afternoon, she asked me to sit on the floor and build something with blocks. Normally, I would have said, "My knees aren't what they used to be," or maybe later. But I sat down. It took effort. My back complained, but I stayed, and something strange happened. 10 minutes passed without me thinking about the past or the future. I was simply there, stacking blocks, knocking them down, laughing when the tower collapsed. It felt unfamiliar, almost uncomfortable at first, because I realized how long it had been since I allowed myself to be playful without purpose. You see, adults often believe every action must lead somewhere. Every conversation must solve something. Every day must accomplish something. Children don't measure moments that way. They experience them. And that was the second lesson she gave me, without even knowing it. Happiness is not a destination. It is attention. Where your attention rests, that is where your life is happening. For decades, my attention was trapped in problems. What needed fixing, what needed improving, what could go wrong. I believed that if I stayed serious enough, alert enough, prepared enough, I could prevent pain. But here's what I learned too late. You cannot prevent every hardship, but you can miss countless joys while trying. A week later, my granddaughter asked me another question. "Grandpa, what makes you excited?" Excited. At 74, no one had asked me that in years. People ask about health, about medications, about retirement plans. No one asks what excites you. I opened my mouth to answer and paused. I talked about what I used to enjoy. Fishing, playing the guitar, walking early in the morning. But I hadn't done most of those things in years. Not because I couldn't, because I stopped prioritizing them. Somewhere along the way, I decided enjoyment was optional, that productivity was essential, that seriousness was maturity, that joy was something for children. That belief shaped my days, and children see the results of our beliefs in our expressions. A few days after that conversation, I found my old guitar in the closet, dust on the strings, out of tune. It took me 15 minutes to tune it properly. My fingers felt stiff, but when I played the first simple chord, something inside me softened, not because I was good, but because I was present. My granddaughter heard it from the other room and ran in. "Grandpa, you can do that." Her eyes were wide, as if I had revealed a secret superpower. To her, it wasn't about perfection. It was about aliveness. And that's when the third realization settled in. Children are not impressed by status. They are drawn to energy. They don't care how much you achieved. They care how much you engage. And here is the uncomfortable truth. If you constantly look tired, burdened, or distant, they assume that is what adulthood looks like. They learn from your face, from your tone, from your presence. My granddaughter wasn't just asking if I was happy. She was studying what it means to grow old. And that realization changed me more than anything. I didn't want her to believe that aging means shrinking, or that responsibility means losing warmth, or that seriousness equals wisdom. So I made one simple commitment. Every time she visits, I will give her my full attention for at least 30 minutes. No distractions, no multitasking. No, just a second. 30 minutes. It sounds small, but it transformed our relationship. She began asking deeper questions. Were you scared when you were little? Do you ever feel lonely? What was your biggest mistake? And because she asked with sincerity, I answered with honesty. Not dramatic honesty, but human honesty. I told her that yes, I have felt afraid. Yes, I have made mistakes. Yes, there were years I was so focused on surviving that I forgot to enjoy. And when I said those things, I noticed something else. I felt lighter. For decades, I believed being the strong one meant hiding uncertainty. But vulnerability did not make me smaller in her eyes. It made me real. And children respect real more than perfection. Now let me tell you the deeper lesson in all of this. At 74, I thought I was teaching my granddaughter about life. But she was teaching me how to live it. She reminded me that joy is visible, presence is felt, and seriousness is not the same as strength. If you are listening right now, I want to ask you the same question she asked me. Are you happy? Not in theory, not on paper, not compared to others. When someone looks at your face, do they see warmth? Do they see engagement? Do they see someone who is alive inside the moment? Because children notice what adults ignore. They notice when laughter disappears. They notice when eyes look distant. They notice when we are physically present but emotionally absent. And they quietly adjust their understanding of what growing older means. At 74, I cannot rewrite the decades behind me, but I can influence the years ahead. Now, when my granddaughter runs into the house, I stand up. I open my arms wide. I let myself be animated. I let myself laugh louder than feels comfortable. Not because I am pretending, but because I finally understand something simple. Happiness is not irresponsible. It is contagious. And if you have grandchildren, or even friends who look up to you, you are teaching them every day what life after 60 looks like. Make sure you are teaching the right lesson. The question that changed me forever was simple. Grandpa, are you happy? I hope you don't wait until 74 to answer it honestly. And if tonight you realize your answer is uncertain, start small. Put the phone away. Sit on the floor. Play the song. Laugh without checking the time. Because the people who love you most are not counting your achievements. They are watching your face.